Hi, everybody. This is John Reneski, and tonight we're joined by Jim Samuel. Jim, I want to thank you for taking the time out to talk with us.
You're welcome, John. I'd like to say hi, and it's good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Jim. I wonder if you would share with us a little bit of insight into your new release, which is a cover of Paul McCartney's My Valentine, just in time for Valentine's Day.
Sure. Before I address that question, I think what I'd like to do first off is to give a special thanks to John. For those who are listening to this, John's been sort of my right-hand man during my return to music. When I came back to music was actually like going to a new world for me. It's been about 30 years since I was actually in the music business, and the music business isn't what it used to be. I often say I feel like I landed on Mars when I came back to the music business, and there's a lot of technology that you need to know nowadays when it comes to the music, and John's been the person who has really guided me through that, through web pages and Facebooks and tweets and blogs and all those things which I had no clue what they were. In fact, about 100 days ago, if you asked me to cut and paste something, I would have asked you for scissors and some crazy glue. But I've come a long way under John's tutelage, and it's been a big help. So anything that you have seen on the web, on your computer, really it comes right back to John's great assistance. It's been wonderful, and it's just vital in today's world when it comes to music and music promotion and production. So again, I'd like to thank John for that, and then get into My Valentine. And My Valentine is a song that I heard at the Grammys last year. Paul McCartney's love ballad to his new wife. And Paul McCartney has written some great love songs. When he was with the Beatles, there's songs like Yesterday and Michelle and Long and Winding Road. Beautiful songs, great chords, great orchestration. I mean, he's just a prolific writer. And when I heard My Valentine, I instantly fell in love with the song. He did it more unplugged, more acoustically, more personal. And it is a personal song of Sir Paul's. And within a week, I really put down an arrangement of it that I liked that was more produced, had more strings, more orchestration. I wanted to make the song beautiful, and that was really what led me to taking and selecting that song. And in fact, today I've had a number of calls from program directors across the country that are now starting to play My Valentine, and the word that they use most often when they hear it is they really like the arrangement. They think it's beautiful, and that really made me feel good, because that was really what I was trying to accomplish with this. In the smooth jazz world, you don't hear the word beautiful all that much, and it was nice to hear that they just really liked the orchestration and the beauty of that song, and that was really what I was trying to put forth.
You're right. My Valentine is an absolutely beautiful cover of Sir Paul's original. And if you listen closely towards the end of the song, there are some incredible background vocals that you've added. And then there's also a second cut of My Valentine where you actually included vocals throughout the song. Now, you mentioned arrangement and orchestration, and this is quite a departure from your debut album, which was Christmas. I wonder if you can talk to us a little bit about this new direction.
Well, every song and every album going forward, I hope to make a little bit better. I am bringing in a lot more musicians. One of my favorite arrangers has always been Quincy Jones, and he did some amazing thing with voices. And while this isn't exactly Quincy Jones, I wanted to get a little bit of that feel with the voices at the end of both versions of the song. When I first submitted this song to the Smooth Jazz Networks, they liked the instrumental right off the bat, and I basically was insistent on trying to do a vocal arrangement, just because I thought the words were beautiful. I think it was a nice song But I also knew that it was a personal song for Paul McCartney. It was to his wife, and because of that personalness, I didn't want it to sound. I didn't want to have just one person sing the song uh, like Paul McCartney would be singing it to his wife. So that's what made me think of the idea of having a male and female vocal, and to try to just give it a different sound. I wanted to give it a totally different sound with from Paul McCartney's arrangement. I'm smart enough to know that if I just had a guy singing it and I was going to try to, I'm not going to try to one up Sir Paul. That's for sure. I'm going to lose that. I'm going to lose that battle every time. So I thought, if I could have the male and female and put together the arrangement, it would be just a nice contrast, and people could hear the words of the song. And I think that the singers that I used, Steve Roach and Vicky Blacker, did a real nice job on the song, and it gives the listeners a choice. Some like the vocal arrangement, some like the instrumental arrangement. So that was really what led me to try to come out with two arrangements. And you're going to hear a lot more of the background voices on the next album. I really learned a little bit with this, and I like to feel that the background voices can add to an instrumental song.
Whether it was the background vocals in the instrumental version or even the fact that you've got a second track that is a vocal arrangement, this is quite a growth for you in terms of where you started with your debut album.
Oh, this is a big departure. I mean, first off, I was a rock and roller and an R&B guy, and now this is more of the smooth jazz. But just the way that you produce, when I was in studios years before, it was complicated work, with a bunch of musicians to produce a record. And now you can produce it on a digital keyboard. And, my first album, the Christmas album, was done entirely on a digital keyboard. So I got to play all the instruments. And they've done a pretty good job on these in the new technology of sampling songs so that they sound, or sounds, so that the instruments sound pretty. And but there's something about having real musicians, especially I find it in the horn section, the sax players, the trumpet players, and I'm going to be adding, with an album that I have coming out, you're going to be hearing live musicians a lot more than you did on the previous albums, and it's been fun. It's been fun working with some of these guys that I haven't seen in a long time, and some new people that I've never met before, but are pretty prolific musicians.
Jim, you're making me very envious. I wish my lips were still in shape because I'd be right there with you.
Break out that trumpet, John. We can always use a couple more. So
I think we'll put the trumpet away and leave the horn part for the professionals. Jim, you mentioned that your early beginnings in the music industry had an R&B and a rock and roll slant to them. I wonder if you would tell us a story about how you got started in the music business.
Yeah, it was actually back in the '60s. I was with a group called Bob Brady and the Conchords. It's a group that was put together. We were sort of handpicked, and we had a recording contract. We did mostly R&B music. We had a pretty big hit with a song called "More, More, More of Your Love" that Smokey Robinson wrote. We had a real Motown sound, so it was different. Had a big horn section, and so it was interesting. And I wrote, other than the one song that Smokey wrote, I wrote all the songs along with Bob Brady in that group, and we had some pretty good success with some of the records, and particularly over in Europe. There's songs that we wrote that are still being played over in Europe, and they call it Northern Soul over there. We were always considered to be one of the big blue-eyed soul groups here in the United States. Over in Europe, they call it Northern Soul, and in fact, they actually pulled Bob out of retirement maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and they had a greatest hits Northern Soul, and two of our songs were on the greatest hits in Northern Soul. So we've always been considered one of the bigger blue-eyed soul groups.
Jim, thanks for sharing with us that great history with regard to the Conchords and Blue-Eyed Soul. Want to shift gears because we've heard that there's a new project on the horizon. Is that true?
Yes, I can't wait for what's next. I had the Christmas album, and it was a surprising success. And now I have Valentine's out. But I can guarantee you one thing: you're not going to hear a Jim Samuel arrangement of "In Your Easter Bonnet." The holiday songs are all over with. I can't wait to come out with just some real good, smooth jazz. But my smooth jazz on the next album is really what I call more smooth dance. It's instrumental, but it's music you can dance to. You can listen to a lot of them and put them in a Zumba class or go out to a Paris nightclub and listen to them. And even the slow songs got a little punch to them. I'm really excited. We have about 11 or 12 songs that tomorrow, in fact, we begin to mix. And I'm just really excited about what's next. And it's going to be out in March. So keep your eye out, for the next album that's coming out, and I guarantee you're not going to hear any holiday songs.
Jim, thanks so much for all that you've talked about tonight. That really brought us to the end of our questions. So at this point, I just want to turn it over to you for a few moments if you have anything else that you'd like to talk about.
Well, not really. I just really, I've been overwhelmed by the support that people have given me. I think I surprised a lot of people. A lot of musicians from my day kept right on going, and I sort of walked away, and I walked away. I just left the business totally, and I think they've been pleasantly surprised to see that I've come back. And maybe I'm not quite as burned out from playing as they are, but I still have a lot of ambition and excitement about what's going on. I think I'm learning every time I go into a studio now and meet new musicians. I really want to try to bring in some real top-notch musicians on the album after the next album, and we want to get back into writing again. So there's a lot to look forward to, but the next step is in March, and just keep your eye out for an album coming out in March, and I hope you all like it.
Jim, you've been very generous with your time tonight. I want to thank you, and we're looking forward to that new album coming out.
Great. Thanks again, John, for everything, and it's nice talking to you guys.